our agenda, I will transition over to the Toastmaster, who is also myself. As the Toastmaster, I like to welcome you all as well to the meeting. And first, I would like to do some introductions of individuals and their roles. This morning, this evening, I'm sorry, we do not have a WAG, and so I will move past that and move on to our general evaluator, Mr. Craig Sprout, and ask that you explain your role in the meeting and then introduce the individuals within the evaluation section.
Thank you very much. As general evaluator, my job tonight is to run the evaluation portion of the meeting, in which we will evaluate our prepared speeches, as well as evaluate our WAG performance. And finally, I, as the general evaluator, will give my evaluation of the meeting as a whole, what we did well, where we can improve, and what we really liked, so on and so forth. And with that, I return to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. And let's introduce our first evaluator, Ms. Antréa Ferguson. Would you please describe your role?
Good evening. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. As the general evaluator, I will be evaluating the speeches that are, I'm sorry, I think I'm a little slightly off. Did you say that I was generally evaluator?
First evaluator.
I mean, first evaluator? Okay,
yes.
Sorry. It's been a long day. As first evaluator of our prepared speech, I will be going through to make sure that the speech corresponds to the speech that is in the track and level according to our pathways. We do have particular projects, and our speeches are full of actual objectives to accomplish. So what I will be doing is taking very close note to make sure that it is in alignment, and considering all of these things to make sure that we are moving forward in our leadership and our public speaking skills by raising the bar every time. And because we are such a close-knit team, it's also nice because I'm able to compare the speakers. I'm able to gauge the speakers' level of growth based on previous speeches that they have given. So that means that I will be using my entire team. I will be using my entire team that has, we have a timing component, and I'll let actually the other parts of the evaluation, the other people involved in the parts of the evaluation explain what it is that they do.
Thank you, Antréa. And now I'll introduce our second evaluator, who I believe is Tammy Perez. No?
It's Craig is going to do the second.
I apologize. Craig Sprout, who's going to serve as the second evaluator.
What Antréa said.
Okay, great. And our timer, Mr. Shankar Pansale, could you please explain your role?
Yes, absolutely. At Toastmasters, we try to convey what we initially intend to say in the time allotted to our speech. Typically, our prepared speeches take between 5 and 7 minutes. Then we have table topics, which are impromptu speeches. They take between 1 minute and 2 minutes. And we also time our evaluation speeches, which have a target range of between 2 minutes and 3 minutes. I will indicate the moments with colors in my background. So for the prepared speeches, this is the background for the 5-minute mark. Then at 6 minutes, I will show yellow, and at 7 minutes, I will show red. Similarly, green is for 1 minute with table topics. Yellow is for 1 minute and 30 seconds for table topics, and red is for the 2-minute mark. And later during the meeting, I will report on the times.
Excellent. Thank you, Shankar. Now in my role as Toastmaster, I am honored to present our first speaker, who is Miss Tammy Perez, and she will be presenting a speech that is the preliminary speech for a Level 5 project in Innovative Planning Pathway, which is High Performance Leadership. She'll be discussing a project that she is working on, which is developing an inaugural mentoring conference for the Alamo Colleges District. She'll discuss the formation of the committee and charge, as well as describing strategies that have worked well in carrying out a project of this magnitude. So please welcome Tammy Perez, our first speaker.
Thank you, fellow Toastmasters. I will first share my screen with you. I'm going to talk a little bit about how we started, and I've always been involved with mentoring at the college. Last year, we decided that we would like to create a conference because there are so many conferences nationwide that either happen in a time frame where we can't participate, or they're not about things that we really are interested in. So we thought, you know, if we're not finding something out there, why don't we create it ourselves? Last year, we gathered a group of folks who wanted to have some input on this, but then, as you know, there were a lot of things that interrupted with that. This year, we started out, and I was asked to lead this team, and gladly I do that. The first thing that I wanted to do, though, was to design the meetings in a way where it's very clear what we're doing, where we're laying out our charge, and we have a clear direction moving forward with timelines and deadlines. Part of leading a team like this is identifying the folks who want to be on it, the participants, identifying what the actual topic is and not allowing for scope creep. In other words, we created this charge, and I'm showing you the first agenda that we created. But we created the charge together as a team, being very conscious that when you get onto a committee, you don't want that committee to last forever. You want it to end. This charge actually allows that to end. Part of the follow-up is making sure that this team, the one that's going to end, identifies the next team that's moving forward and working on this for next year. Our charge is to design and implement the inaugural Alamo Colleges District Mentoring Conference to be offered in the spring of 2021 that engages and informs a broad educational community on various types of mentoring opportunities for ourselves and for our students. This was a charge that we co-created as a team, and I think that that's very important when you work with a group of folks. I had an idea of what I wanted this conference to look like. What this conference really is going to look like is very different than that, because my role isn't driving it. My role is organizing and taking feedback and creating what the team wants moving forward. Our committee membership is individuals from the colleges and district that are interested in mentoring. We started out with primarily faculty student mentoring leads, but then we expanded out because we decided this is not the only thing that we really wanted to do. In this first agenda, I talked a little bit with them about what kind of conference format we wanted, what type of presentations we might want to do, who we should send our marketing to, the invites for the conference. We talked a little bit about maybe the date or the times. It was really tentative, that first meeting. And then we discussed a budget. The items in red are items that are action items for people. You'll notice I've blanked out the names here of the individuals who actually are going to participate doing these items. But the red really draws attention to the fact when I send this out as the minutes to the meeting that there are things that need done, and it points out very clearly who has to do those items. We also discussed modalities of the conference, and then we have other items which have turned into kind of a parking lot of additional items that we need to work on. Our next meeting then was on November 6th. And I want to show you the difference in that agenda because I think it's very important for you to have an agenda that's clear, The committee membership is first. Our committee membership has expanded now because from that first meeting, we've gone out and we've invited other folks to come into that committee. For example, people who are involved not just in faculty student mentoring, but in staff student mentoring, in student to student or peer mentoring. We discussed bringing on individuals who were involved in faculty to faculty mentoring. The other thing that's on our agenda at the very beginning is the charge, so that we don't ever forget the charge. And now that we're in this remote environment, also the Zoom link where the meetings will be held. In this meeting, since we started out with a basic format, that's our decision on when we're actually going to hold the mini conference. We decided that we're going to focus it on students, not on faculty to faculty mentoring or staff to staff mentoring, but really on students. We decided it's going to be on the 26th of March and that we'll have 3 tracks in each breakout session. So we will have faculty to student mentoring on one track. So if you're interested in faculty mentoring students, that's the track you'll attend. Then we'll have staff to student and then another track of peer-to-peer. So the individuals that will participate here are faculty, staff, students. And then we also talked a lot about who we are going to ask to submit a proposal. And we decided we would market that out to the San Antonio area, our sister colleges and the surrounding areas. So again, we have an action item in red. I'll be creating the call for proposals and that goes on to our next agenda. So anything that ends up on an action item, that goes to our next agenda to be followed up on. We're going to talk a little bit more about modalities in the next session. And then we have some more action items that we didn't get to from the last agenda that we're moving to the next one. And again, it's really important to identify those very clearly so that people know what they're doing, what they're accountable for the next time, and also what our agenda is going to look like the next time. And as I said, we identified the charge for this time, but we have to identify the charge in the membership for the committee that picks it up so that this is a sustainable model. The last thing that we did as a team was identify our next meeting date and time. And we closed out the meeting knowing that we have carried out a lot of work in these first 2 meetings. This is going to be a rather large conference in the spring, but I think that the way we're carrying it out as a team is going to mean that this conference is going to come off very well. And it has the participation from members who know what's going on and are interested in it. So we will be able to carry out a great conference in the spring. I look forward to it, and I hope that we have a lot of participation. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Now I have the honor of introducing our second speaker, Miss Antréa Ferguson, and she is presenting a speech entitled, "I Have Always Been a Patriot." So let's welcome Antréa to the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grace, for purple mountains' majesty above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. My name is Antréa Ferguson, and I am a patriot. I am an American. I asked Alexa, what is a patriot? And she said, a person who loves, supports, or defends his country with devotion. Tonight, I'm going to tell you why I am all of these 3 things. Why I love, support, and defend my country with devotion, regardless of whether my party is in office or they're not. The first thing I want to say is I know that some of you may observe me not always standing or saying the Pledge of Allegiance, but that does not make me any less of a patriot. It doesn't make me love the country any less than anyone else. And I have actually come quite a long way. I used to not actually stand, I think as of maybe a year or two ago at all. I would sit down, but now I stand and I place my hand over my heart, understanding that the idea people could get from me not placing my hand over my heart and standing means that I am anti-American, and that is not true. The truth is that I've been wrestling with coming forward to even talk with you guys, and I hope that I don't become overwhelmed with emotion, because it has been an emotional year and it's been an emotional election cycle. But there have been so many things that have, welcome Sean, sorry, I just wanted to welcome Sean to the meeting. There have been so many things that have happened that have really impacted me as a person of color, as a woman here in America. And I could go into all of the details, but it's really just gonna have to be a personal conversation. What I really want you to get out of this tonight is to understand that I love America. Number one, I almost went to war for her. I was nearly signed up, ready to go. I had my hair chopped and cropped, not even that that is a requirement, but it was something that I wanted to do. And then I think I found out that I couldn't actually, because of my age, go in as a certain type, I think as enlisted. And also I had a degree, and I don't know, things were getting a little complicated for where I was in my stage of life, and I decided not to do it. But that was something that I wanted to do before coming back to America. Two, I think that that really illustrates how I would defend America because of my love and support her. Two, I would never change my citizenship, which is something that I've been presented with over and over again. As you guys know, I have lived in many different parts of the earth, and at certain stages, I was able to change it, and I decided, or to get on the path to do that, and I decided that I would never do that. And third, I don't need my party to be in office to express my patriotism or to wave my flag proudly. Now, I will say that I have been abroad, and I have not actually always said that I was American, but that's because I wanted to get the deals, you guys. And sometimes when you say that you're an American, people assume that you have money and they charge you more. So I did not lie, but I did say I was a Jamaican, which, you know, back in my past, someone, you know, my great grandfather, as you all know, was from Jamaica. So it technically wasn't a lie. And furthermore, when a lot of the election cycle from this year had come up, I'm sorry, from the previous years had come up, I was so emotionally and mentally exhausted with hearing about it that I just would, you know, say I was Canadian or something, but it was not connected to my patriotism or my love for America. It was me being really, really tired of talking about that issue, just like my friends from England who get tired of talking about Brexit over and over and over again. But what I wanted to get across again was that these are the reasons why I love, support, and defend my country, why I'm a patriot. And also, this cycle was so hard for a lot of people. And regardless, because some people are really happy with the outcome and some people are not. But I can tell you what, I am proud of her, no matter who is or was in that office. But I am especially proud that there is someone in the White House who looks like me to some degree, who is a woman, who is a person of color, and who I believe really gives a lot of little girls and boys and everyone a lot of hope that they too can achieve something so great as becoming one of the leaders of the free world. I hope that you understand, again, that even though there have been different things that have gone on, like a lot of too much to go into to talk about tonight, that you are still Americans. I am still an American. We are Americans, and we're not as divided as we think we are, because America is in our hearts and our soul. And most importantly, it is you. Thank you very much for listening to my speech. I hope you understand that I am a patriot and I have always been proud to be one.
Thank you, Antréa. We appreciate your words as always and your honesty. I would like to take just a moment to welcome our guest that has joined us to the meeting. We have an NLC student with us this evening, and I would like to give an opportunity for you to introduce yourself to the group.
Are we talking about me?
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. My name is Miss Shawn Tillman. I am a United States Army veteran. I served as an intelligence officer for 10 years prior to getting out. Right now, I am taking classes at Alamo College's prereqs as I am applying for PhD program in occupational therapy. And I have quite a few things going on in the entrepreneurial world, but I've wanted for years to participate in Toastmasters and just, didn't do it. And so this opportunity came up and I was like, you know what, I'm doing it. So let me get on it. So thank you guys for having me. And I look forward to meeting everyone.
Thank you, Shawn. We are excited to have you with us today, and we hope to see you at our meetings in the future as well. Next on our agenda is a timers report from Shankar. Can you please provide us with the timers report?
Yes, Tammy spoke for 7 minutes and 11 seconds, and Antréa spoke for 7 minutes and 2 seconds.
Great, thank you. Appreciate that. And now it is my honor to introduce our table topics master, who I believe is also Shankar this evening. So Shankar, would you describe for our guest again the table topics and set us on our way?
Absolutely. It is with great pleasure that I will describe what table topics is. Shawnee, table topics is being put on the spot. Usually the table topics master, whose role I have tonight, comes up with a question or a topic and then either appoints or asks for volunteers. And these people have to try to give a short speech that lasts between 1 and 2 minutes. And tonight, I am the person who holds the table topics master role, and I will announce the first topic. The first topic of the night is, tell me about a cause that you either organized a fundraiser for or helped fundraising. Why did you do it and what was most effective? I'm looking for volunteers with this question. Tammy.
Several years ago, I had a friend who became very, very ill and needed some surgery. And as a group, we decided to get together and organize a fundraiser. It was actually through our Girl Scouts. We used a hall over at the church because it was free. And we all reached out to see if we could get donations. We ended up getting considerable donations. Between the group, we all had contacts, and we all reached out to our contacts to ask if they had things that they could donate for this fundraiser. We put on a spaghetti dinner and we sold plates to it. And every dollar that went towards the spaghetti dinner actually went straight to the family so that they could afford to spend money on this surgery. It was an amazing outpouring from the community. It was astounding that I was talking about it in a doctor's office to a friend of mine. We were just discussing some of the what we were going to do. And a lady who was sitting in the waiting room said, can I donate? Can I just give you a check right now? And I thought, wow, that's just amazing that somebody from the community who had no idea who we were talking about, who knew me not at all, was just going to give me a check to put towards this family and their expenses. And it was the most amazing experience I've ever been through. There were only about probably 8 of us who helped form this fundraising group and pull all this together, but they ended up raising some incredible amount. It was thousands of dollars. I can't remember this time, it's been a very long time ago, but they raised thousands of dollars towards this surgery. It was just really raised my faith in humanity. So that was my experience.
Thank you so much, Tammy. I'm just going to make sure I capture your time. The next question I will direct to someone in particular. Let's pick Craig. Craig, during the election, would you explain a moment to us in which you got into a debate with someone about the two candidates? What was the debate about and how did you handle it?
It's funny you should mention that. Many, many years ago, I was one of the first people in my area to run a political blog, which is what I did all day, was argue and debate and get death threats and all kinds of fun stuff like that. And after I quit doing that, like I say, the death threats kind of take the luster off of a fun thing. And I decided that that maybe wasn't for me anymore. So from that point forward, I have pretty much eschewed debating entirely. I have my thoughts. If you ask me, I'm happy to share them, but will I go out and seek someone to debate with? No, I will not anymore. In today's soundbite society, we are focused on slam dunking and memes, which are always very shallow and lack any thought or any nuance or any depth of consideration. There's this famous saying that says, don't argue with an idiot. They will drag you down to their level and beat you with experience. I've taken that to heart, and I no longer engage in debates, which is why if we are friends on Facebook, you will see me post stuff like today, dude, tomorrow's the 10th already. And if any of you know, that's a scene from The Big Lebowski where the landlord's trying to hint to the dude that it's rent time. And I post that I try to post that on the 9th of every month. And that is probably the most closest thing. I wouldn't even say it's close. It's not even political. It's apolitical because I do not get drawn in any longer. And I am far, far more at peace when I do that. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you very much, Craig. I will briefly repeat the timing and the colors in the background. I don't know if Shawnee got that, but when we are at 1 minute, I show a green background. When we are at 1 minute and 30 seconds, yellow, and at 2 minutes, a red background. I will ask a question that is for Laura next, and then Shawnee, I'll have one for you. So you are prepared. Laura, as you heard Antréa's definition of a patriot, which one resonated most with you and why?
I think there are several elements of Antréa's speech that resonate with me as a definition of a patriot rather than just a single definition. Of course, the originating definition she gave at the beginning from Alexa, which, by the way, very creative source there for the definition of patriotism. I think that is the classic definition of patriotism that many people align with, and they think of, the individuals who view patriotism and the service to the country, which of course is incredibly valuable and honored. But there are there are ways of being a patriot that are more accessible to those of us also who haven't served in the military. Something as simple as service to your community, advocating for those who don't have the same outcomes or resources that others, advocating for social justice, advocating for diversity, equity, and inclusion, advocating for those things that make everyone able to fully partake in the benefits that being American has, and serving your community and serving others. To me, that's how I view patriotism, in whatever I can do to serve my community and help to ensure that everyone we can try and build the access and equity for everyone in our community to be able to fully enjoy the benefits of being an American citizen, ensure that everyone has the full rights that they should have as an American citizen. So that's how I view patriotism, and I believe Antréa spoke to elements of that throughout her speech.
Thank you very much, Laura. I happen to agree with you. That's really how I see being an entrepreneur and leading a company where I can make a positive impact on the community that I chose to be a part of. Speaking of entrepreneurship, I believe Shawnee mentioned that she dabbled a little bit in entrepreneurial ventures, and I'm very interested in that part. Shawnee, would you tell us what was the most interesting entrepreneurial project you have undertaken, and why?
Okay, absolutely. I think thus far, the most interesting is I'm currently teaching myself to trade stocks and do that as a part-time and eventually a full-time career path. And the reason I've chosen that is because during the pandemic, when everyone was sort of in this place of what do I do with myself? What do I do with this extra time? I'd forgotten that I had a brokerage account from years ago, and that I bought some shares, and then I just went in one day and I saw that they had gone through the roof, and I was like, oh, I just forgot I even had this account. But I started teaching myself back in like 1998 when I first went off to undergrad, how to trade back then. And so the pandemic, I like to think, sort of brought it back to the forefront of my brain and got me back on this path. So I'm quite interested. I've been connecting with people across the country to learn about investing in other areas from this, such as real estate, life insurance, things of that nature. So it's just the beginning of my journey, but I'm looking forward to where I can go with it, because there seems to be a lot of places I can go with it.
Thank you very much, Shawnee, and congratulations on delivering your first table topic. I can tell you, most people who attempt this for the first time, they cannot make the first minute mark. You, however, did 1 minute and 30 seconds, and you were coherent and answered the questions and didn't have too many filler words. So really well done.
Thank you, because that was tremendous pressure.
All right, the next and final question is for Antréa. Antréa, I know in your job you have to constantly learn new skills. Would you explain to us what the latest skill set is that you learned and how you chose to appropriate that knowledge?
Sure thing, Mr. Table Topics Master, as if you know what I do in my job or something. Well, I have a set of soft skills, I would say, of connecting with people that you never know when it really kind of pops out. And I think that that has really been something that has become more overt because of the reach that we are now gaining with our company. There are so many different types of individuals, and their professions that they have are kind of all over the map, and the topics are very deep that you discuss. And I really think that by connecting with them on a personal and individual level in a way that is not fake but is very genuine has allowed us to build a relationship that will lead to something substantial and meaningful in terms of of business, and in terms of just knowing people, networking, and also being able to draw on my skills from undergrad and grad school, and having the background knowledge that I do, working with different kinds of how should I say, kind of synchronizing people's skills for them, like being able to take a resume and look at their list of skills too, and be able to kind of plug them into another arena, being able to look at a lot of different things, and help them in their own professional development, even in the doctoral sense. That is something that is like really amazing, and something that is growing, and who knows what you can apply to your professional or creative endeavor by just building upon that.
Thank you very much, Antréa. By the way, what a pleasure it was to watch these acceptance speeches. As a Toastmaster, I'm sure you agree that once you become a Toastmaster, you really start paying attention to how people give a speech. And I believe we got two very, very good examples recently, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Lots of table topics to give before some of us are at that level, but the good thing is we can get to that very same level as presidents and vice presidents, because we have the support, the constructive support, and the network, and the opportunity to practice often. With that, I hand it back to our Toastmaster of the night, Laura Sanchez.
Thank you, Shankar. And I am going to send it right back to you for a timers report.
Thank you very much. I have Tammy down with 1 minute and 50 seconds, Craig with 1 minute and 36 seconds, Laura 1 minute and 59 seconds, Shawnee 1 minute and 30 seconds, and Antréa 2 minutes and 18 seconds.
Thank you. Now it's time for the evaluation portion of our meeting, and so I will be passing the podium, so to speak, over to Craig Spout, our general evaluator for tonight.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I always think that this is the most important part of our meeting. It's where we get immediate feedback on our speeches. We'll learn places we can improve, and we'll also get the opportunity to hear the things we can do well and keep building on. And I am going to start off with our first evaluator, who is also our second speaker, Antréa Ferguson, who will be evaluating Tammy's speech. Antréa.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. I am very excited to give feedback for Ms. Tammy Perez's speech. I'll start by saying I like the candor of why you went into what you did, because you didn't find it interesting and you guys wanted to create your own. I like that you identified people who wanted to be on it and not allowing for scope creep, keeping that in mind. When you were actually giving your speech, you could see your gestures very clearly. You knew what you wanted the conference to look like, and something that you said that really stuck out to me was that your role was driving it, taking feedback and creating what the team wants and moving forward. I think that's awesome because it's engaging and it really delivers. And there were parts where you went a little bit fast when talking about the modalities that would be used. That's okay. I think you'll have a lot more time when you're actually giving your presentation. And of course, the PowerPoint would have been nice because the audience is always going to read ahead and be distracted in a Word document where you can see what's coming next. And it was also at sometimes a little bit difficult to tell what place you were actually in. But to be honest, the time flew. It was all very engaging. You had so much jam-packed, but that was okay. Like I said, I know you're going to be able to take a little bit more time. And I also like that you were looking to see if it would be how to make it a sustainable model. And just again, that engagement and focusing on students, I thought was really interesting. It's really a pleasure to be able to evaluate you and see you growing in every speech, and especially when you do your presentations, you can just tell where your day-to-day activities really just show up in things such as these. So you are a beast at what you do, and it's always delightful to be able to hear you speak about what you love.
Thank you, Antréa. And now our second evaluator will evaluate our second speaker, and second evaluator is moi. Antréa, I had forgotten what a lovely, lovely singing voice you have. This is, I think, the second or third time that you've started off a speech with a song, and that's something that really sets the tone and starts to engage people. That the power of your voice in the singing mode is amazing. Keep that technique in your pocket for something to use later. That was awesome. I loved that you got a little vulnerable on this. Some of the best speeches that I've heard is when we open ourselves up, and you definitely opened yourself up. There's a lot more to the story, obviously, and I think that's a fascinating. It gives us that high level glimpse that personally I would love to hear more. And that's another sign of a good speech, is leave them wanting more. That was also excellent. Another thing I noticed that you did very excellently, and I struggle with, I fight with this all the time, especially in evaluations, is your focus on the camera. Because that helps make eye contact with the audience, and that also helps bring people into the speech. Something you did, you could improve on, and you already know what I'm going to say, right? You know what I'm going to say. I would love to hear something prepared that you worked out. But that said, this didn't feel as unprepared as others have, because it obviously came from a place of deep passion and deep emotion, and you're able to, with a couple short exceptions, you were just able to stay on point and get through what you wanted to say. So I will say that even though I'd like to hear more prepared stuff from you, that was also very good for a short preparation. Now, to challenge yourself, what I'd like to see or hear actually is more use of vocal variety. And by this, I mean, especially your peaks and valleys are really well. You come up loud and you come down soft. You do that very well. But what I'd like to hear is more pacing. And by pacing, I mean putting in those pauses and letting it breathe. And say, for example, when you make a good point that you start out by saying, I can't even remember the words, that was so long ago, but there were 3 definitions you had as a patriot. One who defends their country, one who their country. And some of that makes a stronger impact if you just let those breathe a little bit and kind of bring your audience up on the edge of their seats or tippy toes, as the case may be. With that, I hope you keep doing great speeches, and I'd love to hear more about what's going on. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator. Thank you, Mr. Evaluator. Do we have a WAG tonight? Who is our WAG tonight? We went WAGless. Well, that's sad, but that happens. General evaluation of the meeting, we started on time. That's always my number 1 checkbox. We started on time. Sadly, we didn't have all our roles filled, but that happens as well. We had interesting and timely table topics that conform to the themes of our speeches today. And we had a guest, which is always a joy. I like to see guests. Overall, a great job, and I look forward to next Monday. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Craig, for serving as our general evaluator this evening. Before we close the meeting, I do want to ask Sean if you have any questions that we can answer for you before we depart the meeting, just if there's any things that will help answer that we can give you information about our Toastmasters Club.
Well, my goal is to jump right in as a member and begin challenging myself and learning from and with you guys. So I think right now my primary question is, what is my next step? And how do I prepare myself to be a useful member? Yeah.
I think your next step from that standpoint is perhaps you and I to set up an individual meeting, as I'm the Vice President of Education, and I can give you a brief orientation to roles, as well as talk to you about our Pathways program for working through different pathways for your speeches. And that way it'll help you organize on a goal and a path for your potential topics that you may want to speak about.
Great.
And I would add filling out a membership application, which Laura, you can do that at the same time, maybe together. And then I can process it and you will get access to the Pathways platform.
Okay. I think that you had sent an email back to Laura Farias, but there was no attachment. So I don't know if you intended to attach the application. So it was not on there. So maybe just, yeah, just send that back.
Okay, gotcha.
Great, thank you. So you'll continue to work with Laura Farias on the application piece, and then you and I can set an appointment and I can get you started on the curriculum.
Awesome. Thank you.
Now it's time to close our meeting. Our next meeting is scheduled for next Monday, which I believe is the 16th. And just as a reminder to the officers, we are scheduled to have an officers meeting following the November 16th meeting. So prepare that in your schedule to stay on for the officers meeting after the regular meeting closes. That being said, does anyone have any additional announcements or awards prior to adjourning?
Yes, I have 2. Number 1 is to take the poll for best table topic or speaker if you haven't done so. And then I'll announce that in just a moment. And number 2 is for the officers. Don't have to decide right now, but next week we want to talk about the Thanksgiving week if we want to have a meeting or not. And I'm going to wait Just a
Well-
few more seconds for votes to come in.
While you're waiting, can we go ahead and work on roles for next week? We have a couple that are not filled.
Yes.
So Laura, you're down as Toastmaster again?
Okay.
You want me to leave you there or do you want out of that?
Well, you can leave me there, or you can switch me to something else if someone else is excited about being Toastmaster. But I don't mind doing it again.
We have a WAG as Harlan and Antréa is our table topics master next week. Shawnee, sometimes it's easier to start out as timer or table topics master or WAG.